In the last video, I talked about the rise of Chinese prodigy cubers such as Rui Hangshu and Yi Wang. I talked about how the young Chinese cubers stunned the world by becoming so fast at such a young age. If you haven't checked that video out, go check it out, link in the description. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how all of this is possible and how these prodigies became so quick at such a young age. This improvement is absolutely ludicrous and never been seen before, and there's so many Chinese prodigy cubers with such a similar story, being very fast in such a short amount of time. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is how they get started with cubing, and the reason I want to talk about this is because there's evidence that potentially suggests that they might be forced to cube, and that's because there's evidence already showing that parents seem to be really pushy about their kids cubing, trying to get them to be faster. Here's a video of Yi Wang practicing and his mom giving feedback on how to get better.
跟刚才一样，不要标手速，慢到我每条公式可以做顺。
So as you can see, parents seem to be heavily involved within cubing journeys in China, and they seem to be pushing their kids to get good results. And this might be surprising because if you're from somewhere else around the world, your parents might not respect cubing as a hobby. They might be trying to get you to quit, not getting your new cubes, as well as not bringing you to competitions, things like that. But in China, it seems to be the opposite. In fact, parents seem to be so well invested in their children cubing that they're willing to pay money to send them to what's called a cubing academy. Now you're probably wondering, what's a cubing academy? So let me explain. So you've probably heard about Cubicle Academy, which was run by the Cubicle, and what basically the Cubicle Academy is that the Team Cubicle, some of the Team Cubicle members, they have coaching services where they do private lessons, and self-critiques all online and virtually. But cubing academies in China are kind of similar but a little different. Cubing academies in China also have coaches who teach kids and show them how to improve, but this is all in person in an actual center. So this is really crazy because that means that there has to be a lot of people doing this in order to justify, operating in a physical location. Most of these cubing academies seem to be started by former pro or semi-pro Chinese cubers, and I dug around and I found out 3 coaches who seem to be running their own cubing academies in China. The first coach is Wang, who became famous after going on a Chinese TV game show called The Brain, where he battled Felix Zemdex and some other international cubers a few years ago. He averages around 8 to 9 seconds, and with this popularity from that game show, that's how he's able to keep his academy afloat. His academy seems to be called Cube and opened in July last year. And the reason we know this academy exists is because Cuber Raymond uploaded a few videos featuring his academy. Raymond's even uploaded a video of Yi solving the cube with Wang, who seems to be on the side coaching him, so we'd assume there might be some relationship going on with some coaching services. The second coach I found was Li Huanpan, who supposedly helped coach Rui Hangshu, as shown in a Cube Raymond video showing Raymond's progress to breaking the world record average. I checked his WCA results. Li Huanpan has a 11.07 average from 2017, but I couldn't tell if he got faster since. And I don't know if Rui Hang has switched coaches because, he's gotten faster, and Li Huan might be at the same speed, but again, I don't know. The third coach I was able to find was Jiayu Wang, who at least ran his own cubing academy in the past. He averaged around 7 to 8 seconds, and I'm not sure whether he still runs his own cubing academy. I was able to find information about him through Facebook, where he shared in July 2021 that he was buried by his students because of a 300 one-day solve assignment, thus proving he used to run a cubing academy. This also shows how really crazy and serious these cubing academies are, and how much cubing they're doing. I don't know if Jiayu Wang has any notable students who are really pro cubers. So yeah, But now we know the levels of these coaches and we know how good they are at cubing. So now let's take a look at how these academies work. To take a look at this, we'll be taking a look at Cuber Raymond's videos of in-house cubing academy. So it looks like him and some other adults just seem to be watching over kids as they practice, training, or potentially even learning algorithms. If you look at the description, it says that this is a summer camp, meaning that this is pretty legit. So what I decided to do was do some Googling. And after I did some Googling, I found an advertisement for in-house coaching in Chinese. And I translated to English just so you guys can understand what's going on in this summer camp. First, I have to mention that this seems to be updated from July 2021, which seems to be from 2 years ago. What this means is that this is not Yinghao own academy, as this is before he opened his own academy. What happened was this organization called Yixing Education seems to have paid Yinghao to teach cubing for a week. As I browsed through the site, the first thing that caught my eye is when it mentioned a statistic that showed over 2,000 schools in China have implemented some sort of Rubik's Cube into their school curriculum, which is crazy to think about. This advertisement seems to only advertise Yinghao as the teacher, and advertises a lot about his accomplishments, such as being on the Brain game show and his ASRs and NRs. I'm not aware if anyone else is helping out, as this advertisement doesn't really mention anyone else. This website also showed the course curriculum, which I decided to translate into English and share with you guys. Note, I'm not fully versed with cubing terms in Chinese, but I think I got the main gist of the lessons. This camp ran for 1 week, which is only 5 days due to the 2 days for the weekend, and seemed to focus on 3x3 and 2x2. The morning of the first day started with an opening ceremony and introduction to the class. In the afternoon, they worked on PLLs, executing the algorithms, recognition, and AUFs. For day 2, in the morning, they supposedly worked on cross, starting off with coach explaining the principles, then giving cross example solves. In the afternoon, they learned X crosses, how to look ahead into the first pair. On day 3, the coaches worked with the kids on F2L. In the morning, they taught them how to do cases from different angles, how to take advantage of empty slots, and F2L recognition picking. So how to choose, which F2L pair to do. In the afternoon, they worked on more F2L, starting by focusing on common annoying F2L cases. I'll admit I'm a little confused by what this is, but this is my best guess as I'm not familiar with cubing terms in Chinese. But afterwards, they move on to F2L recognition and how to simplify more difficult cases to solve them. On day 4, they start the morning focusing on more F2L, starting off with the coach giving example solves, then transitioning into 2x2. It seems that they are learning the Ortega method because in the afternoon, they learned the XLL or PBL algorithms, as well as how to skillfully build a bottom face. This makes me think that this camp is not geared for advanced solvers who may know more things already and more advanced methods in 2x2. On day 5, they continue with 2x2 in the morning by seeing example solves. Afterwards, they get to practice their 2x2 and 3x3 skills. In the afternoon, they have some sort of unofficial competition, and in fact, there's actually video footage of Cuber Raymond of Eames Academy, where you can see something similar taking place, competition simulation. Yes, Eames Academy came out after, but this is basically almost the same thing. There's even footage of Lucas Shelley in one of the competitions, who I believe is there to help out. If you don't know who Lucas Shelley is, he has a 631 average and a 442 single in competition. Afterwards comes the closing ceremony and group picture, and the end of the summer camp. So this is Ying's summer camp in 2021, and this gives us a lot of insight, and especially explains why many of the Chinese young prodigy cubers are so good at 2x2 and 3x3, because this seems to be what the cubing academies focus on. I'd assume they don't focus on big cubes or other events because their hands might be a little too small. That's just my guess, but there's no, formal proof of this, but that's just my guess, again. As for cost for these academies, how much it costs for students to attend, couldn't really find any information of it as there is nothing here. But as far as we know, it must be a good amount of money, because it has to be enough money to allow for physical locations as they have now, like Ying's Academy. And yeah, so this is how it works in a cubing academy. Coaches, are able to teach these kids on how to get faster at cubing. In addition, I want to add one thing, which is that these coaches presumably tell the parents what the kids need to work on, so the kids can practice at home with parents helping them. And the reason I say this is because, again, we have Heng's video as potential evidence. Note, I'm not going to say anything about whether this is forced or anything because I'm not sure about it. There's not enough evidence on why they're cubing. It seems that the parents seem to be helping them get faster, might be a little pushy, but again, that's just the way things work in China and Asia. So as you can see, China has taken cubing to a whole new level with these cubing academies and parents helping their kids as well. But with this said, these cubing academies appear to be really new. We'll see if they last. As of right now, it appears China is having a cubing craze which will produce a lot of new world-class speedcubers, and the parents are willing to invest in their kids' cubing journey.